We're going to call to order for the Fayette County Board of Education meeting on April 22nd. We're going to pause now for a moment of reflection, and you can think of all the things you're grateful for and all the people who've helped you along the way. Thank you. I'd now like to welcome the third graders from Crabapple Elementary School to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And we'll follow their instructions.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just stay there for a second so your parents can take photos. Yeah.
Go back and smile.
Go on back and smile. Yeah. Turn around so they can take photos. All right. All right. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
We'll now go to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes on the agenda?
No, sir. I think substantially we're all ready to go, and I'd recommend the board approve the agenda as submitted.
I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 5-0. Now we come to our favorite part of the evening when we recognize our outstanding students and teachers. And we have a lot of recognitions tonight, and we're going to turn it over to Melinda Berry Dreisbach. But first, Brian Anderson has a proclamation to read.
Thank you, Mr. Hollowell. On behalf of the entire board, this is Alcohol Awareness Month for 2019, and I'm going to read a brief proclamation. It's called The Power of Family Conversations. So whereas excessive drinking is responsible for more than 4,300 deaths among underage youth each year, including an average of 149 deaths per year in Georgia, and whereas alcohol is the most commonly used addictive substance in the United States, and whereas more than 1.6 million young people report driving under the influence of alcohol, whereas young people who begin drinking before age 15 are 4 times more likely to develop alcohol dependence than those who begin drinking at 21. And whereas drinking by persons under the age of 21 is linked to 189,000 emergency room visits, and whereas kids who drink are more likely to be victims of violent crime, to be involved in alcohol-related traffic crashes, and to have serious school-related problems, and whereas parents' social hosting of underage drinking parties contributes to negative teen consequences and is against the law here in Fayette County. And whereas a supportive family environment is associated with lowered rates of alcohol use for adolescents, and whereas kids who have conversations with their parents and learn a lot about the dangers of alcohol and drug use are 50% less likely to use alcohol and drug than those who don't. Therefore, we, the Fayette County Board of Education, do hereby proclaim that April 2019 is Alcohol Awareness Month in Fayette County. We join Drug Free Fayette, the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependence, in supporting efforts to provide early education to teenagers about alcoholism, drug abuse, and negative outcomes of underage drinking, and increasing support for individuals and families coping with alcoholism and preventing their onset. Through these efforts, together, we can keep teenagers free from the negative consequences that underage drinking often brings. May it be so decreed on this 22nd day of April, 2019.
Thank you.
Mr. Michael Mumford is here with Drug Free Fayette. Thank you, Michael, for all that you do for our community and helping our young people make good choices.
Thank you.
Thank you. Melinda, you're up.
Well, as Dr. Barrow and Mr. Howell can attest, I believe this is the largest recognition ceremony we've had to date for this year. They signed over 200 certificates. Now, I'm not calling 200 names, so we're not going to be here all night, but we do have that many students and teachers achieving great things. And so our first recognition for the evening is our Fayette County High School varsity boys basketball team. So if I may have their coach and team captains come forward, please. They're coming around the back. Okay, just to give you a little bit of history about this team, this marks the 19th consecutive year that the Fayette County High boys varsity basketball team has been to the state playoffs. And they played their hardest schedule ever this year, working their way through a tough bracket to make it all the way to the state championship. And at the state championship, they played number 1 ranked Beaufort. They played hard, and it was a close game, with Fayette County losing to Beaufort 76-69. However, the team finished its season with 26 wins and 6 losses, and it is ranked as second in the state. We are very proud of our Fayette County High boys varsity basketball team, and we do have team members here tonight in the audience. If they can please stand so that we can give them a round of applause. I have given your coach your certificate, so every team member will be getting a certificate, but tonight we are going to go ahead and hand the captains their certificates, and I will call their names. We have Ricky Knight Jr., Gregory Smith II, Joshua Dupree, and James Carter, and Terrell Bradley could not be here tonight. And, of course, our head coach, Andre Flynn. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. You need a picture?
Coach Flynn, that's the real boss of the basketball team right there in the middle, right?
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, next up, also from Fayette County High School, we are going to recognize the Army Junior ROTC drill team. They are called Fabulous Fayette. They earned their way this year all the way to the Junior ROTC National Drill Championship, and they brought home a trophy. They competed against 103 other top teams from throughout the nation, and they received their trophy for finishing 5th overall in armed inspection. Now, when I say they finished 5th, they really finished in first place as far as I am concerned, because I understand that the teams that finished ahead of them were either military academies, where this is all they do, they practice drills all the time, or teams from Texas that I understand hire professional coaches to come and teach the cadets how to win championships. Well, these cadets, along with their instructor, did it on their own, staying after school from 6 to 7 o'clock at night, practicing their drills. So as far as I'm concerned, they are in first place. And we do have the drill team members here tonight. We're going to give certificates to the captains. We have your certificates to give out later to you, but if you will please stand, we want to give you a round of applause. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and hand certificates to the captains of the drill team, and we're going to start with Cadet Captain Aaron Riley. Cadet Command Sergeant Major Ian Pincock. Cadet First Sergeant William Holcomb. And Cadet Sergeant First Class Anna Pinata. And of course, we cannot forget their coach, First Sergeant Anthony Bell. Now, we do have two junior ROTCs in the county, so our ROTC at Sandy Creek High School, they're also here tonight. They recently won a major awards, so if I may have them come forward, please. Okay, recently, the Air Force Junior ROTC had their formal evaluation, and they received the highest rating attainable, which is right here, which is exceeds standards. Okay, in the written report, there were some very complimentary things said about this unit. The report said that cadets were described as impressive and that they displayed exemplary pride in their unit. The instructors, Major Dotson and Chief Master Sergeant Davidson, they were also commended for being exceptional role models and for providing a high-quality junior Air Force ROTC program. So congratulations to them on this achievement. And with us tonight, during the inspection, 2 cadets were given awards for superior performance. Fernando Mendera, he could not be here tonight, but Kathy Rice Ventura is, and so we would like to present her with a certificate. And we also have certificates for Major Dotson and Chief Master Sergeant Davidson. Congratulations. Okay, next up, if we may have our Young Georgia Authors winners come forward. Okay, we have 2 elementary students in our county who took first place in the Griffin Risa Regional Young Georgia Authors Writing Competition, and now their works have advanced to the state level competition. And they are Kamari Moreland from Spring Hill Elementary, and her teacher is Corey Shoeing. And from Peoples Elementary, we have Candace Steiner, and her coach is April DeJaneiro. Just to give you a little bit of information about the competition, it is open to students in grades K through 12, and it includes all types of writing, such as short stories, poetry, essays, and even research projects. And unlike other writing competitions, these students are not given a prompt. In fact, there are no boundaries at all other than a 1,900-word limit. And our state winners will be announced in May, and I'm sure we've got 2 standing right up here. Congratulations. Okay, now if I may have our first place Fayette County Elementary Science Olympians come forward, please. Okay, we actually have 2 schools that are headed to the Georgia Science Olympiad after taking first and second place at the Fayette County Science Olympiad. Oak Grove finished second, and Peoples took first place, and so we're recognizing our first place team here tonight. And for those of you who don't know, Science Olympiad is a hands-on, fun science event where students compete in science activities throughout the day, and winning is all about teamwork and practice. And so you know these guys up here, you know they've been practicing hard, and obviously they know what teamwork is to make it to that first place position. So we are going to call the names of the students who are here tonight, and we will start with Victoria Magna Luvano, Claire Vickery, Bryson Overa, Isabella Stank, Anna Brushin, Emily Benson, Ethan Kwok, Kayla Peavyhouse, Tate Shively, and Sarah Giovanni. Okay, all right. And then we had a few more show up we weren't expecting. Allison Moore, Megan Holmes, and Kate Simons. And their coaches are Tabitha Schwanbeck and Christina Horton. I think they want pictures. Congratulations.
Go team.
Okay, next up, if we may have our Georgia Student Technology Competition. Well, we're going to call you by school. These are Georgia Technology. It's Oak Grove. They're the only ones here tonight. In Starks Mill. Okay. All right. If you were here at last month's board meeting, you know we called a number of students who won the regional student technology competition. In fact, we dominated the West Georgia region. Well, out of those students who went on to compete at the state level, we have 9 students from throughout Fayette County who brought home first place awards. And before we hand out those certificates, I just want to give you Fayette's impressive overall results. Our students brought home a total of 18 awards and earned 62% of the placements for the West Georgia region, which is very impressive. And this was only Fayette County's second time competing at this state competition. So we are very proud of all of our winners here tonight. And we're going to start off with, now McIntosh, I will tell you that they had 4 winners, but they're not here tonight, so we're going to move on to Oak Grove Elementary. And we have Yashwin Ramesh Babu, and he placed in mobile apps. And Manish Gugawari and Parth Mahajan, they both placed first in multimedia. And their coach is Lori Walters. Congratulations. Okay, next up, if we can have Starks Mill High School. And from Starks Mill, we have Hyun Bakali and Felipe Schwantes, both video production. And their coach is Pat Coleman. And next, if we can have our J.C. Booth Middle Sea Perch team come forward, please. Okay, Okay, a group of STEM students called the Fluid Four, but I don't think we have but half of the Fluid Four here tonight. But they have really demonstrated their knowledge of naval architecture and ocean engineering principles by winning the Atlanta Southern Crescent Regional Sea Perch Competition. And in addition to winning the championship, the Fluid Four also won Best Log Book, earning a perfect score. And because of their first place victory, the team is now advancing to the National Sea Perch Competition this summer at the University of Maryland. And for those of you who do not know what this is, it is an underwater robotics competition, and events at the competition include maneuvering and recovery, innovative design, and engineering notebook submissions. And our team of the Fluid Four are Ava Guest, Logan Hunter, Sheriff Kabir, and Natish Sudakar. And their coach is Kathleen Landman. Congratulations. Okay, next up, if we may have our, whoops, we got notes here. Our FCCLA state winners from Starrs Mill High School. We had a good showing at the Community Leaders of America, or FCCLA, State Leadership Conference with students from both Sandy Creek and Starrs Mill High earning awards. We had 6 members from Starrs Mill High who earned high enough scores to advance to the national competition this summer in California. And 2 of them are the only students in Fayette County to receive a gold award. And they are Abby Weaver and Sarah Carroll, an environmental ambassador. And their coach is Hope Villa. Congratulations. Okay, next up, if we may have the FBLA Virtual Business Management Challenge winners come forward, please. And just so you know, we're starting right now a long list of recognitions for Whitewater High School. We had 2 teams at Whitewater High that placed in the top 10 of the Future Business Leaders of America Virtual Business Management Challenge. And the team name of this team, I love it, Dreamville. Yes. And Dreamville is made up of Tyreek Thorne and Jalen Belvins. And this team is ranked best in the state. This challenge tests students' skills at managing a manufacturing business. There are 2 rounds of competition in which students control various combinations of management concepts such as recruiting, hiring and supervising, risk management, organizing floor layouts, and bidding on orders. Teams are ranked based on their cumulative profit at the end of the 2 rounds, and their coach is Corinne Ferdinand. Congratulations. Okay, next up, if we may have the Regional Science Olympiad winners. Okay, the Whitewater High Science Olympiad team, they dominated the Science Olympiad tournament that was held at Gordon State College. They took 11 first place wins, and that put them in first place for the championship. Now, with 23 total events in the competition, the Whitewater team secured just under 50% of the first place finishes and won 30% of the second place finishes. And our team members are Melanie Wagner, Matthew Castro, Dresden Day, Liam Jones, Edward Wong, Charles Milson, Cole Hain, Derek Buey, Mallory Christian, Michael Bowman Olay, Isabel Nickel, Cameron Smith, Matthew Middleton, Courtney Wagner, Addison Moses, and Josiah Kruver. Their coach is Mary Clark, and assistant coaches are Anthony Tabuku Mesker and Ben Huang. We'll get them to the school. Okay, now if we may have our DECA State Career Development Conference winners from Whitewater come forward, please. Okay. We had 17 students, again, both from Sandy Creek and Whitewater High Schools, who took top placements at the DECA State Career Development Conference and are advancing to the international competition, which is this weekend in Orlando, Florida. And of those 17, we had 4 students from Whitewater High to finish in first place. And they are Christina Whitehead and Dresden Day in Hospitality Services, Matthew Moore in Personal Finance Literacy, and Edward Huang, who could not be here tonight, in Business Finance. And their coach is Karen Stahl. And for those of you who don't know about DECA, it prepares students for careers in marketing, finance, hospitality, and management at both the high school and collegiate level. Congratulations. Okay, now also from Whitewater, if we can have the Hawks Marketing Competition members come forward, please. And these are also DECA students, and they have a long history of winning awards at the Atlanta Hawks Marketing Competition, and of course this year was no exception. The challenge was to create a marketing campaign that co-brands the Atlanta Hawks with local colleges. A team of 5 from Whitewater High School presented their marketing plan to top officials at the Atlanta Hawks, and they won the challenge. And they are Matthew Castro, Cole Hain, Mason Zipkowski, and Edward Wong, who could not be here tonight, and J.J. Reisberg. Their coach is Karen Stahl. And this is the second consecutive year that Whitewater has won the challenge. The school also took first place in 2015, and they have secured several second and third place wins in prior years. So congratulations. Okay, next up, if we may have our Governor's Honors finalists come forward. Well, looks like we only have 2 of them here tonight, but we have a total of 19 students from Fayette's high schools who have been selected to attend the 2019 Governor's Honors Program on the campus of Berry College this summer. Oh, we're going to get him. Yay! You're just a little bit late. We were getting worried about you guys. We thought we only had 2. Well, as I said, we have 19 from all of our high schools, and they will be able to attend the Governor's Honors Program on the campus of Berry College this summer. And for those of you who do not know about GHP, it's a 4-week intensive study program with coursework and activities that are structured to stretch and challenge students beyond that of a traditional classroom experience. And acceptance into the program, it's very competitive. The state receives over 3,000 applications each year, and less than 20% of those are accepted into the program. So it's a major, major honor to be accepted. And we're going to start with Fayette County High School. And from Fayette County, we have Bella Alonso, Communicative Arts. Jan Matthew Morano, Engineering. And Logan Shanks, Social Studies. Okay. Next up, we have McIntosh High. We have Shaman Park, Music. Irene Song, Dance. Rochelle Cox, World Languages. Robert Paula, Mathematics. Samuel Triplett, Engineering. And Tyler Schmidt, World Languages. From Sandy Creek High, we have Skylar Bug, Music. From Stars Mill High, we have Hayori Yukosawa, Communicative Arts. John Walraven, Science. Olivia Herman, Social Studies. Trey Orndorff, Music. And Zachary Livesey, Social Studies. And from Whitewater High School, we have Jamison Collins, Music. And Morgan Pettis, Biology. Okay, now we have wrapped up our student recognitions. We're going to move into our staff recognitions. If I may have our school counselors and Advocate of the Year come forward, please. Each year, our Fayette County School Counselors Association selects Counselors of the Year and an Advocate of the Year. And the advocate is a person who works outside of the school counseling setting and has contributed to the success of school counselors across the county. This year's winners are, for Counselors of the Year, Mesha Bolton from Sarah Hart Mentor Elementary, and Kelly Floyd from Whitewater High School. And our Advocate of the Year is Lisa Collins, who is the Career and Technical Education Director. Congratulations. And Ms. Collins, if you will just stand up here, please, because you're up for the next recognition as well. And if I may have Dr. Wimbish come forward. Oh, okay, we have two administrators here in Fayette County who have been recognized by the Georgia Student Technology Association for devoting their careers to to supporting STEM education in our school system. And the association awarded Lisa Collins, who you just met, and Dr. Margot Wimbish, who is the assistant principal at Sandy Creek High School, with the Administrator of the Year award. Their leadership, support, and involvement makes it possible for our students to have meaningful experiences that will help them build bright futures after they graduate from Fayette County Public Schools. So congratulations and thank you to all that you do for our students in Fayette County. That concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Melinda. We had one person sign up for public comment, but I think he may have left. Is Ted Lord still here? Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll move on to the superintendent's report, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Barrow.
Yes, sir. We have a unique opportunity to learn about a group that actually did what we call some world-class education and did a global trip. Mr. Whit Jones and several of the McIntosh High School students, and I think our own Dr. Turner actually participated in this as well. I see some of those guys coming on in. Whit, come on up. I know that he's going to share just a little bit about the trip that this group took. And when we talk about world-class education, you have to get out into the world, and these guys really did that with a trip to Japan. So with that, I won't steal any more of their thunder. Go ahead.
Am I talking to you guys? Am I talking to
It's good right here. How about this group right here?
We went with the Japan American Society. They chose 3 different schools from across the metro Atlanta area to send 6 students, a teacher, and an administrator. And so McIntosh was chosen along with Cambridge High School and Decatur High School. And so these 6 students, Elizabeth Raymer, Michaela Roan, Katie Phillips, Jennifer Fenton, Zach Stone, and Mon Shaw, all were chosen. And they were selected they wrote several essays and did an application process. And they were selected by the Japan American Society to go on this trip. And so here we are right outside the Emperor's kind of castle in Tokyo, and we wanted to make sure that we were chiefs in Japan. And so you see that, and then you see kind of the sky tree that is right there, one dawn, because naturally every time you go to Japan, you want to wake up at 3 a.m. Every morning. And so there's plenty of times to take good pictures in the morning. But I want to let some of the kids talk about some of the things that they learned and kind of how they can bring that back and be able to take that along with, their education and how it expanded that.
And if we could just have them speak into the microphone, since we're recording. I lost one already.
Their slides, if you want to look at the slides, we can do that.
So our trip was a 10-day adventure. We went to Tokyo, Kamakura, Yokohama, Hiroshima, Miyajima, and Kyoto. We went to some museums. We went on a factory tour. We visited many shrines, and we had many cultural experiences, and it was amazing. So, so on these slides, there was, so the first picture on the left was, we went to the Sky Tree, which is in Tokyo, so that's a view of Tokyo, and it was really cool. And then in the middle, that is a shrine. I don't know which one. Yeah, it was in Miyajima. It was really beautiful. And then the last picture is a picture of us at I was in Hiroshima, but it was a bell you rang, and then you put your hands on it. For peace. It was a symbol of peace. So, okay. Next slide.
Next.
So while we were in Japan, we had an amazing opportunity to learn all about the history of Japan through the various sites that we visited. One of the most impressive was the Kamakura shrines, which were from the shogunate period. And here they created some massive temples that were really beautiful and really just like a great display of power from the period that lasts today and kind of give you an insight into the history from that time period. We also visited the Meiji Temple, which is really important. It was in Tokyo, and it kind of takes it back to the time of the Meiji Restoration when there's more power in Japan shifted back to the emperor from the shogunates. And there's this huge, beautiful temple and like this kind of forest right in the middle of the city. So that was really cool and let you learn about that time period. We were also able to visit Hiroshima, which really was an amazing insight and super impactful, and to learn about the significance of World War II from non-American viewpoint, and like how the effects of the atomic bomb really took on the Japanese people and culture and country. And then we were also able to visit the Imperial Palace, which had definitely a changing role throughout the history of Japan with the emperor and his rise or loss of power. And so, yeah, I thought all of those experiences really gave you an interesting insight into the history and how the history through the various years changed the culture, and the culture kind of shaped who the people are and continue to be today.
So personally, I'm really into science and technology, so these are the experiences that really connected with me as we went to Japan. So the first thing is the Resupia Panasonic Science Center, and there are science museums all over Japan, but this is the one we went to, sponsored by Panasonic, and what it really shows is a sort of hands-on physical demonstration of science and how that science can relate to kids while they're still in elementary school, get them interested in science, technology, and mathematics, right? So you'll have physical demonstrations to show you how like volumes are calculated, series of numbers like Fibonacci, or functions, like stuff like that, but they're all hands-on, and so kids might feel like they're playing a game, but really they're like learning about like, say clouds, like in that picture, there's like a cloud game where you learn about the water cycle through your experience as a small droplet of water as you go up, collect more and more water particles, and then you fall down through your own weight. Another thing we went to was the Tokyo Skytree, and it's the second tallest like structure in the world that's like freestanding and stuff, obviously behind the Burj Khalifa. And really, it serves as a telecommunication center, but really more than that, it serves as like a symbol to the world about like Japan's power, Tokyo's power as to shape the world around them, to build like a center of technology in the middle of like an island that you might not otherwise like see. And Shinkansen. Now, Shinkansen and Tokyo Metro, they're sort of related because that's the bullet train and the train system that really connects the country together. And really the whole center of the country is always like around Tokyo, and huge metro population, over 34 million people centered around in like a huge urban swath. You really need to connect them together to make an efficient urban like landscape. The Tokyo Metro really connects all the urban parts of Tokyo really efficiently, and it's always on time. Like, you're more likely to be late just by walking there rather than the train is by any cause. And the Shinkansen is like widely revered as one of the best bullet train systems in the world. Incredibly fast, incredibly efficient, and really comfortable as well. Like, if you're traveling anywhere in Japan, you really have to experience the Shinkansen versus like flying or driving. Like, that's really the way to go.
Okay, so Japan is very well known for its fashion, quirky aesthetics, music, and entertainment. While we were there, we visited some parts of the city, like Akihabara. Sorry, I've always had trouble with that. But basically, Akihabara was a place that, it's like a street, and it was a place that has lots of like anime and manga, which is very popular in Japan. Anime is a type of animation, but it's like videos and movies, while manga is comic books and more reading. So that was really interesting to see that. And then also part of the pop culture is J-pop bands like BTS, AKB48, and Baby Metal, which are really interesting and not like anything else that you can find in America. And they are getting very popular, like all around the world. So, and then some fashion brands that are really well known, like Uniqlo and A Bathing Ape. But yeah, and then there's just some pictures. The one on the bottom left is me holding a picture with a J-pop boy band man. So, there you go.
All right. Personally, I like the arts. I do art myself, and I love art history. So for me, exploring the art and temples from the perspective of art history was great. A lot of the emphasis is on nature and nature existing within human-built structures. So even in the middle of Tokyo, we have the world's largest metropolitan area, and we're seeing forests, and it's really incredible how they've incorporated nature largely as a product of Shintoism, which emphasizes the harmony between humans, their landscape, and what was there before them. Contemporary architecture was amazing too. We got to see this Tokyo Skytree, which, as we mentioned, is the second tallest building in the world. Going up there was crazy. It was higher than I've ever been, apart from an airplane or what have you. And seeing the metropolitan area, even though it was kind of cloudy on the day that we went, we could see for miles. It was incredible. And it's obvious that the engineers working behind that have put forth some really great effort. A couple pictures that we have here. On the left, there's some votive statues. They represent children that died either in childbirth or before a certain age. And every year they knit little hats and scarves for them and dress them up, and it's really a beautiful thing to see. There are just hundreds of them in lines. In the middle there is just an example of trees working with architecture. That's classic thing. And there's a lantern in the center there. We got to see a lot of lanterns. And then on the right, it's one of my favorite things. Going to Hiroshima Peace Park was really great because we saw the Japanese people emphasize the importance of creating peace after the atomic bomb, and really there's no blame placed. It's not really about the bad things that happen so much as in the future we need to focus on not doing such destructive acts again. And that up there is a story of a girl with leukemia as a result of the radiation. She passed around age 12, and now there's a monument dedicated to her. She's holding a paper crane, which is a symbol of getting well.
So religion is a very big part of the daily life in Japan, and we personally experienced that. We went to a lot of shrines while we were there, and then we also saw the synthesis that they experienced there between their cultural life and how that interacts heavily with their religious experience. So Japan features two main religions, which are Shintoism, which is an older native religion, and Buddhism, which was imported from the mainland around the 6th century. And they exist really cohesively with one another. When you're going to the shrines, it's less about which is Shinto and which is Buddhist, and more about the synthesis between those two cultures, or the religions that they are, and how they interact with people. And they focus on religion mainly for major life events like birthdays or funerals rather than a part of daily life. So they're more focused on like getting ready for festivals and like large events throughout the year rather than like a weekly basis like you might experience here in the United States. So Shintoism really focuses more on like the natural aspect of the world, and they feature the architectural things like the torii gates, which are like the big red gates, and they have large bells. And Buddhism is more of a funerary religion in Japan, and that's where you're going to see like the Buddha statues and the spiritual offerings for past ancestors. And if you click to the next slide, these are some pictures from a bunch of the different shrines that we went to. On the top left, you see one that's that's a tunnel that's just all of those torii gates that you get to walk through, featuring Zach and Liz. And then next to that one is the larger of the torii gates that we went to out on Miyajima, and that one's actually in the water. So when there's high tide, it's completely, you can't get it out to it, but when the tide lowers, you can walk out and go through the gate. And then you see there's little plaques that you can write on and leave like wishes and things at some of the shrines. And then that's a picture of us with the big bronze Buddha that they have, and then there's more of the smaller Buddha statues and the hats that are offerings for past children, like Jennifer was talking about.
So another one of the opportunities that we got to have in Japan was visiting multiple different corporations and businesses that play major roles in America and as well as Japan. And so one of them was Nissan, and we got to go to the Nissan factory. And a little bit of the history of Nissan is that they were established in Japan, and they were the first company to mass produce vehicles in Japan. And so they also have the best-selling electronic car model of any brand in Japan, and that's the Nissan Note. And as we went to the Nissan factory, we got to walk around and see all the specific details that go exactly into making the cars that we drive here. And that was really interesting to see the efficiency and the technology behind it and all the intricate parts that go into the whole, as well as just how they do things there and the everything that we don't get to see here as well. And the next slide. We also got to go to YKK, and we didn't get to see their factory, but we got to go just to their business building. And they're a company that does majority zippers and buckles and things like that. And they make 46% of the global zipper market. And while we were there, they taught us how to make like a little zipper pouch. And so we got to come home with a souvenir from them. As well as they walked us through their building, which had many different variations of zippers. And it was really cool to see just the specific and intricate technology behind just a zipper as well, and how they've taken it and made it much more efficient than you could even imagine, as well as the many different kinds of zippers and all that goes into that. We also got to see the Panasonic building and their museum that they had for us, and they were founded in 1918 in Japan, and they're rated 76th on the list of world's most valuable brands. And so not only did we get to see all of these big corporations and how generous they were to us and hospitable, but even just going from dinner and lunch and even working with our translators, we really got a hands-on view into the business of Japan and the way that they carried themselves and hosted us. It was really welcoming, and it was a lot more kind of in the way that they do things. They're just very intentional in everything that they do, and their main goal is to accommodate you in whatever way possible. And so everywhere we went, we were just hosted above and beyond, and that's something that I think is really important to bring back into America and to take that into, for us, it would be going into the workforce as we enter it, keeping that in mind. Just their mindset and the way that they do things was really refreshing. And they definitely take their time with everything, and they're not rushed just to get things done. So that was really cool to see in all of the ways that we visited Japan.
I teach AP Human Geography, so I'll be very quick. Just different things. Everything to do with humans is human geography. So from the cuisine to the transportation to pop culture and diffusion and me getting beaten 3-1 by this little Japanese girl in paper, rock, scissors. It was, it was bad. If you go to the next one. Also just getting to see different things with pop and folk culture. We got to see different weddings at several ones and how different these were. You get all the same way that in America people take selfies and all this. Yes, they take selfies, but they want to dress up in their kimonos and have the cherry blossoms. And we happened to be there in the 1 week that the cherry blossoms were blooming. And so it was phenomenal. And every single Japanese woman in the entire country was taking pictures in kimonos everywhere we went. And then some of the kids got to go to cat cafes and hedgehog cafes and owl cafes. I did not participate in that because I don't like cats, hedgehogs, or owls, but other people did, and so they love that. And that's just something that's different over there. And then the last slide. Here you see mine. On the last day, one of the things that you see, don't be the nail. There's a Japanese proverb that says the nail that sticks out will get hammered down. And on the right, you see I was out for a run one morning, and I see a police car come flying by me, and, lights on, sirens blaring, and then the light turned red, and so it stopped. And there was nothing coming. It just stopped. And it waited the entire light. And then as soon as the light turned green, then it went again with the lights blaring and sound going, and all. It was crazy. But towards the end, we were kind of in that, okay, how can we be the nail without being the nail? So we were like, what would you do for a yin? And so you can see that Mon is actually holding a yin and jumping over the little pole where he wasn't supposed to be running. So that is, he clearly was not running because we would not be the nail, but he was walking and then, propelling himself over that. But overall, I think it was a great experience, and I hope in a couple years that McIntosh will be chosen to go again. So thank you guys so much for letting us go, and I think it was a trip that was beyond all of our expectations, and I think it was really good for us to be able to take that back to our school as well.
Mr. Jones, before you go, board members, do you have any questions of our young people? Or
How was it, Coach Jones, how was the jet lag for everybody when you guys were over there? I'm used to 8 and 9 hours, but what is that, 12?
I'm still getting over it. Like, I still wake up in the middle of the night and I can't fall back to sleep.
Really?
First day we woke up at 4 and got some ice cream out of the vending machine in the hotel.
What about coming back to class? Did you come right off this trip and right back to school?
Yes.
That was the worst because you had to force your body to adjust.
Yeah.
There was no gradual adjusting.
Also, I slept the entire, the first day we got back, I slept the entire day. And I was like, it's fine, I'm just taking a nap. And then I could not fall asleep that night, and I just.
Yeah,
So the trip itself, any inspiration? I mean, would you go to other parts of the world? So you got a lot from the travel experience.
Going with kids my age, I've gone a couple places with my parents, but going with people my age and experiencing what our generation really finds interesting was especially great.
Yeah, and there was something too about not having to plan anything or worry about any of the details that allowed us to really just soak it all in. Because we would literally just wake up in the morning and get on a bus and be taken to the best parts of Japan. And so there was something really great about not having to worry a single bit and just soak everything in and learn as much as we could in the time that we were there.
So we're very grateful for the Japan American Society of Georgia for planning everything out so meticulously for us.
And one of the things I know that they're excited, and if you guys could have bento boxes in all of the school lunches, because I know they love the bento boxes. But we also got a lot of different things. So we got to tour a ramen museum and get different kinds of ramen. We got different kinds of sushi. You would be amazed at green tea and sweet potato ice cream. It's actually really tasty, and cherry blossom ice cream and those kind of things. So they really, it wasn't like we're looking for the biggest McDonald's everywhere. They were really trying things and going out of their comfort zone and doing different things. So it was really good for that. So we thank you guys very much.
And Dr. Bear, I just wanted to again extend our appreciation to the Japan America Council because they footed the bill for everything for this trip. Airfare, hotel, all our food, all our tours, everything, just in an effort to foster great relationships with Americans. So we're very grateful for that. It was a great opportunity.
And I'd also say to the Georgia Council of Economic Education, they did a great job kind of helping to kind of be the liaison between the various schools and the Japan America Society as well. And Mike Raymer, who's with us tonight, he is the president there, and he's also on the board at the Japan America Society. So he was kind of instrumental in this and with us as well. So it was a great job.
Thank you for going above and beyond.
Thank you.
Yep.
Coach.
Thank you
Appreciate
very much.
it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hollowell, the mathematics textbook adoption is there just as a piece of information, again, so that our community will be aware. We have textbooks and materials. They're out for public review. They'll continue to be on review until our next board meeting. I think that's May 6th. We have our work session then. If everything is positive with regard to the feedback that we get, we'll be asking the board to move forward with that adoption. But if anybody in the audience or any community member that's listening to our podcast, certainly if you have feedback, I know our math coordinator, Ms. Deb Troutman, or Dr. Turner would be happy to listen to your feedback, and we'll put that all into our consideration before moving forward. Any questions or comments from the board about the textbook adoption? If not, we'll move on to item C, and Mr. Gray is going to come forward and share a good bit of information. I've had a chance to hear Ted Beck. He's the Chief Financial Officer for the State Department of Education. We got a budget update. Heard some positive information from him. They're getting a lot of that information out to the districts, and Mr. Gray's got some of that. So he's going to kind of give us an update of where we are in preparation for our FY20 budget. Tom?
Thank you, Dr. Barrow. Page 1 is our revenue summary, and you can see at the top it has the state revenue. We're estimating to be $111 million for QBE, and that does include the increase of $3,000 for the teachers' salary on the salary schedule. We don't have all the details on how they calculate this yet. They've just given us at a summary level of what the amounts will be. Then below that you have the local revenues, which the only thing I think we've changed there is we're estimating right now about a 6% increase in the net digest. Our exemptions tend to be a little bit higher sometimes, and those aren't always finalized yet. On page 2, I'm sorry, so for total, that's about $227 million in revenues expected at this point. On page 2, we have the breakdown of the expenditures and some of the changes we're anticipating. Our base personnel costs is about $190 million. You can see the additions we've talked about before, the step increases, the TRS change, the certified increase in state salary schedule, and the 2% COLA for classified employees. We'd already had on the allotment sheet some adjustments there for additional FTEs and certified and classified employees. Also includes the ECS lead teacher change. Below that, we've added since the last time some of the program additions that we're working through with staff at this point. And as a matter of fact, even some of these have actually changed since today, or we have to augment, but this is a pretty good summary. So we're looking at those additions you can see on there. One thing to note, I already know that we've got an AP chemistry teacher at Stars Mill. That's actually going to be a half-time addition, not a full-time addition. And then for the some of the positions, we have to go back and review, whether it should be, how it should be reclassed. But at this point, we're looking at about $12.4 million in addition in personnel in total, but that does include the aforementioned items of the salary increases above. So those are the additions right now that we've been reviewing for positions. On page 3, that's just breaking into the operating summary. We're adding a little bit for school level accounting, which we talked about already. Departmental increases would include fuel increase. We are seeing fuel increase pricing going up, so we're actually going to be a lot higher than we have been in the last few years. That's one area that's kind of increased, and we have to include some funding in the general fund for math book adoption. That's not actual textbook related. It's actual subscription related, so we'll have some additions there. And then we're having some additional pre-K classes, so we'll have to cover some of that operating expense, an additional JROTC class, and some operating expenses in S&P that would be an increase as well. So right now, total expenditures, $226.6 million, so it's almost break even at this point, and we're going to keep reviewing the digest numbers to get an updated revenue number and to continue to go through the position addition requests that we've had from staff. We've had probably 40 or 50 different things that we're reviewing right now, and we've gone through most of those and just trying to make those adjustments and see where we can add and what should be a priority. So I don't know if there's any questions or comments. Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Tom, don't go far. Next on the agenda, that concludes our superintendent's report, but we'll, personnel, you've had a chance to review the re-elections, the retirements, resignations, reclassifications, and the new elections for the new school year. All of our principals and directors have gone through the process of interviewing and background checks, those kinds of things. So we're ready to recommend those positions to the board.
Okay. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Barry, were you? Yeah, 5-0. Then we got our financial reports.
Yeah, financial reports with Mr. Gray. This is our current report, monthly report, and Tom will bring us up to speed on that.
Okay, our standard financial reports, cash on hand of about $80 million, 80.1 almost, almost $81 million. Operating cash is $57 million. On the next page, you see a breakdown of the operating cash, which $46.4 million is in the general fund. On the page 3, you have our budget to date at the function level. So we're at about expenditures about 74%, so that's right on track with being through March. And then we have the projection sheet. So at the top, we have the expenditures that we're anticipating about being about $2.4 million under budget at this point. Most of that is in the operating area. In the middle, in the revenues, we're expected to be about 2.3 in revenue, above budget. That's mostly coming from our property tax and title ad valorem tax area. And we have been doing good in interest this year, by the way, having more cash, and the interest rates have been a little bit better. So we're projecting at the end of the year having a operating reserve of about $8.4 million. Okay, and then I know you probably looked at the 3 SPLOST reports, and not a lot has changed on them as we're trying to finish some projects, but I did change the format a little bit to consolidate, make it on letter size, and consolidate some of the expenditure historical information. But if you'll go to the third page for SPLOST, one more. One thing we did add on that is that in SPLOST 3, we added a breakdown of the bond proceeds and where we stand with those. And so the total bond proceeds were $28.8 million. We've, from construction drawdown, brought down about 22.6. And so we have, after the debt service payments, which of the interest, we have about $5 million left in bond proceeds. So that's the funding we're using for projects right now in SPLOST 3. SPLOST 3 collections would have started this month at the first of the month, and so we'll start actually receiving those funds in May. Any comments or questions on any of that?
We still have a lot of work to do with Fayette High with summer renovations. That'll be some of that bond money there. So I think we've mapped it out pretty well to stay within our budget allocation, and certainly that's why we track it so hard. But I appreciate Tom's concise report. Any questions for Mr. Gray? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a consent agenda next on the our items are travel and meeting minutes. We'd recommend the board approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Shouldn't be, but all in favor? 5-0. All right, we got the action items.
Okay, we discussed this. First item are with bus purchases at our work session. Basically, what the staff is recommending to us is purchasing 10 72-passenger buses and 5 of our 54-passenger bus. Those are what we typically outfit with the special ed lifts. We are downsizing our fleet some. We'd like to surplus 20. We're actually purchasing 15. The overall cost, and this is an eSPLOST expenditure, but it's $1,394,540. we would recommend the board approve.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, call for a vote. 5-0.
Item B is an opportunity for us to pilot a program. We've been having some conversations about this. This actually would be a part of our school safety and security, but we've been working with a company called InterQuest Detection. They would visit some of our schools based on what we're looking at doing at our middle and high schools. There's no prohibition for them to visit elementary schools, but the focus would be on middle and high. I know that this is something that's new to the district. What we'd like to do is just have a trial period for the first semester. We're looking at roughly $840 per visit, and each visit, of course, is divided up in a day's time, and they would be looking at a certain amount of time at middle schools and a certain amount of time at the high schools. We are going to watch this very carefully. If it proves to be beneficial, we'd want to come back for a longer term agreement, but we want to try this trial visit at least for first semester next year, and we would recommend the board approve.
Okay. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I understand the sort of the reasoning behind this, and
Sure.
but I think that whenever we talk about or make these incremental changes for the need of safety or security, I think there's sort of two things that we have to keep in mind. And the first is we talk about relationships a lot. We have PBAS, we say they don't care what you learn until they learn what you care. And I'm not sure that this helps us build relationships with students who already feel like they're in, a lot of times, to them is an oppressive situation or in a system, that sort of. And I guess the second thing is just a little bit more philosophical. I feel like we are good at eroding our sort of individual privacy rights. We talk about the Constitution and what this country was founded on. We talk a lot about the Second Amendment, but we've kind of given up on the Fourth. And I think when we normalize more and more sort of incursions into our personal liberty, especially as technology and things become greater and greater, I think we lose something, and I think our kids lose something, and it becomes a normal part of their lives. So for those reasons, I'm concerned about doing this.
Anybody else? Call for a vote. All in favor? We got 4. All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we'll move on down to item 12. These are information items. One deals with purchasing. This is just to be on the table for 30 days for your review. It's not a brand new policy. It's just updating some of our purchasing practice. The second is I just want to make the board and community aware there is going to be a State Board of Education public hearing. Our state board member is Helen Rice. It'll be at the Griffin Regional College and Career Academy on May 14th from 7 to 8, and all of our folks are invited to attend if you are interested in finding out what's happening at the state board. Mr. Hollowell, that concludes all of our board agenda items. We do have executive session that we need to go into to discuss personnel and also some property discussions. Those are the two things that we need to talk about.
Need a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel and property.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? 5-0. Dr. Barrett, any recommendations from executive session?
We've had some good conversations, Mr. Hollowell, but I've got just a little more homework to do. I don't have any concrete recommendations coming out of executive session just yet, but I think we'll be ready to make some of those at our May 6th meeting.
Okay, great. Without objection, we're adjourned.